Hi, and welcome to the weekly predictions based on astrology for the week of February 24, 2020. First, let's do a very quick review of the predictions for the previous week. As far as the market, stock market directions, I was correct for the direction for Monday. I guess it was a mixed result where Dow Jones went down and Nasdaq was up very slightly, 0.02. And also for Thursday. However, I was wrong on 3 days of the week. And also, since I'm recording this on the 24th, I saw that I definitely missed a large drop in the stocks on Monday. I didn't see too many really bad aspects other than the ongoing difficult transits, which actually will become more difficult as the time goes by, and especially sometime at the end of March. So let's see. And in terms of the large earthquakes, there weren't, I would say, too many 6.0 and higher. However, there was a 6.0 earthquake in eastern Turkey, and that one unfortunately resulted in the loss of life, and over 1,000 buildings have collapsed there. For the ongoing background influence, which is the conjunction between Saturn and Pluto in Capricorn, that typically coincides with major geopolitical changes, as I already mentioned, large-scale earthquakes, removal of leaders that were in power for a long time, and shifts in power at sort of the tops of the governments. So reshuffling of the government, reshuffling in terms of who's in power in large corporations. And in terms of that, we had an announcement on the 18th that the DuPont CEO and CFO of the company were stepping down. There was also an announcement in the US about Boy Scouts filing for bankruptcy, and that actually is both, sort of a manifestation of these large shifts and kind of changes in terms of large entity, either individual or business that was in power for a long time or was considered to be powerful, kind of that status kind of undergoing change. But also specifically for US, I made a prediction, and that's something that's actually going to be in place through about 2021, is that we will see changes in terms of and related to either financial obligations or taxes, loans, debt, etc., of large corporations and or some corporations that perhaps one wouldn't expect that something would happen to them because they're in power for so long, or some established company, they may file for bankruptcy or undergo real shift in terms of maybe dividing into smaller companies or even ceasing to exist. Or there may be problems with taxes, as I said, or some concerns about their financial dealings, illegal financial dealings even, and or we may just hear more sort of impact or transformation, again, finance or profits for businesses that have to do with things like, so for example, nuclear power, and or there may be, again, increase in news specific for US in various corporations or government officials, and either illegal activities, terrorist activity, or spying, hacking, and or just basically some sort of really underhanded or abusive behavior, manipulations. And again, that may involve finance, or it may involve some sort of criminal activity, illegal activity, and or may involve companies or businesses that have to do with, again, maybe they help provide support for, spying and hacking, or provide, transmission of secret information. Or perhaps those could be also coal and mining companies, and any companies that perhaps have to do with either recycling or storing things underground or digging underground, because again, secrets, things are hidden, and it's either physically they're hidden or underground, or sort of they're hidden or secretive because again, they're shady in some way. And also, another sort of side of this prediction, again, for the US, was that there will be emphasis on safety of women and or children. And of course, Boy Scouts, one of the sort of reasons, at least supposedly, that they had filed for bankruptcy right now is so that they could postpone the, I guess, all the various trials or cases that are have to do with sexual abuse cases that were filed against the company. Another prediction I made for the US was the 18th, specifically, that there would be increased news about finance, earnings, real estate, banks, land, farming, food industry, etc. And there was an announcement that Franklin Templeton was to acquire, or is to acquire, Legg Mason in all-cash deal valued at $4.5 billion. I also predicted that on the 18th through 21st that there will be favorable conditions and or positive news for businesses related to IT, aerospace, telecoms, electric power, electric cars, high tech, etc. And I actually saw on the 18th that the news I wouldn't say necessarily were positive, but in fact the General Electric stock was hit because there was a report that Trump administration was trying to block sales of the engine that they produced to China to, again, I guess, promote, to basically somehow prevent China from stealing, I guess, the trade secrets of how those engines are produced. In that sense, I guess, from Trump's administration perspective, they were trying to do something that's beneficial for domestic businesses, but obviously it was not beneficial for GE per se. I also made prediction for the 19th through the 20th for the US that there will be increased focus on governmental and corporate authorities, US status in the world, as well as banks, finance, rates, taxes, etc. And that specifically it may involve some upsetting situations related to financial agreements, either some sort of imbalanced agreements or investments that may be perceived kind of one-sided, or funds would may be insufficient for a particular investment, or concerns about some impulsive, buying of the acquisition. And also made a prediction for about the same time period on the global scale that there might be positive news for businesses, again, related to IT, telecoms, electric power, electric cars, high tech, etc. And what I saw around that time is on the 19th, there was an announcement that in the US that John Rood, the Undersecretary for Defense, and apparently that's the number 3 position at the Pentagon, never heard of this person before, but apparently it's an important government official, and that person had stepped down, resigned, because I guess there was some sort of a disagreement with Trump about whether or not to limit exports of, I guess, certain products to China, and specifically to telecom giant Huawei. And so, again, sort of the similar, I guess, concerns as with engine sales for GE, where Trump administration is trying to sort of I guess, prevent China from stealing some trade secrets. So again, on my seeing the aspects, things look like it's a positive development for IT industry and related kind of businesses and products. And for the US, however, again, I'd say it probably depends on the particular point of view, whether it's positive or negative development, but it was related to government officials and sort of concerns about these areas as far as like IT, aerospace, telecoms, etc. Let's see, for China, I also made a prediction for the 19th of February that there may be increased focus on issues related to finance and earnings, as well as pharmaceuticals, healthcare, navy, water, beverages, all of these kind of Neptunian sort of domains, and there may be worries about lack of clarity or uncertainty about some related issue. And of course we have coronavirus outbreak, but it could be related to things like oil, gases, water pollution, etc. And I saw that on the 20th of February there was apparently an announcement by China where they said that I guess there was a concern about many dams on the Mekong River basically not allowing enough water to flow downstream, and a drought about hurting farmers in those countries that are downstream, I guess, from China. And so China made an announcement that there would be sharing a little bit more water, I guess, and releasing more water from its dams, and also that they will share information on hydrology to provide, I guess, further assistance to those countries. And of course, yes, we do have, and that I guess you don't need to be using astrology for that, that there are concerns about the ongoing coronavirus outbreak affecting economy in China and globally as well, of course. Another prediction I made that in China for the 20th and 21st February that there might be increased probability of some important and likely positive announcement about profits, finance, banking, and at the same time there may also be a new initiative in the financial sphere or about some daring project that aims to bring quick results, and the emphasis would be on the moving fast and or taking like risks again to make achievement to I guess bring the achievement faster or achieve your goal faster. And I think there was a mixture of news around the same time. So on the 20th, China's Lenovo, which is I guess the largest PC maker in the world, actually posted a better than expected profit, and their shares went up 7%. And also on the 20th, China had made an announcement that they are taking over the H&A because the coronavirus was hitting their business, and specifically that they would be selling off all of its airline assets to help, I guess, the H&A meet its financial obligations. So I guess that would also, to me, qualifies as like a risky move and associated with sort of profits. And I guess it's positive for the particular company. At the same time, there was also an announcement on the 21st from China that, of course, exports and imports are expected to fall sharply in January and February, and I guess they already have. And that at the same time that the I guess it was an announcement by the Ministry's Foreign Trade Department, Commerce Ministry's Foreign Trade Department, that they're looking to expedite and they're speeding up a study of new fiscal, tax, financial, and insurance measures that can further support companies that are suffering, I guess, because of this coronavirus outbreak. So I guess, again, I wouldn't say it's entirely positive news for China, but it was definitely involving some measures to specifically expedite actions and improve the situation to improve earnings. So now on to the week of the 24th. As I mentioned before, we have some ongoing background influences. One is the Saturn-Pluto conjunction in Capricorn, and we may expect this to be in place through the end of the year. And this period from the end of February through early April is going to be another, intense period. We have some intensification with a special coronavirus outbreak in January, and there was a large market drop, I believe. And so now we will also, at least one of the days, I can remember one exactly, and I think also increase in earthquakes. So now, between now and April, early April, we will have another sort of period where things will intensify. We have many planets will be kind of conjuncting at the end of Capricorn, and then going into early Aquarius, which also happens to be where China's rising sign or ascendant is, which has to do with, again, transformation of its identity and just major developments with its partners and etc. So definitely an intense period for entire sort of planet, and definitely has a lot of sort of triggers that transits that are specifically going over important points in China's chart. So I would say we are entering another period where things may get kind of more intense, and especially building up towards, I would say, end of March through early February, where there will be even more events where, again, changes in the government leadership, changes in the heads of major corporations, problems for some corporations, and again for US it also coincides with some background influences that have to do with like increase in issues related to finance, debt, loans, or in being engaged in some illegal activities, or maybe hiding, their profits, or having some other issues maybe to do with rates, for example, or for companies that are in the industries related to mining, for US companies, mining, nuclear power, recycling, and or, spying, hacking. So all of those issues may be intensifying going into March, and this week this influence, both of these influences I guess I just mentioned for US and globally, the strongest on February 24, 26. And then for US, the period where we may hear more about, perhaps, like I said, companies filing for bankruptcy or experiencing some financial difficulties, or banks somehow having to deal with either increased governmental controls over finance industry, or perhaps some restrictions imposed on financial flows, or either concerns about real estate, or again restrictions on which sort of terms perhaps loans can be issued, mortgages, and or food production. So these areas may be kind of experiencing some difficulties for the US, and that already sort of had begun around February 14th, but will continue, I would say, through the end of this year, but especially this first period will be February 14th through July 7th, and again, especially March 20th through 29th. So sort of things obviously don't happen overnight, but things kind of build up to it. But this period that we're entering this week and next few weeks, I would say things both globally and for China and for US may see some variety of kind of difficult developments. And for China and coronavirus outbreak, with variety of aspects to China's chart, specifically indicating areas being affected are healthcare related, chemicals, oil, navy, pollution, and sort of a variety of like hidden secretive activities, and or hospitals, those secluded kind of places of isolation, islands, monasteries, etc. All of that receives greater attention for this entire year, and especially this outbreak may see kind of either intensification or some major changes or developments occurring between like August and November. However, there are multiple periods, and there will also be like 3 periods in the upcoming year where there may be some either developments where maybe the death toll rises, or there's some sudden change in what is happening or how things are dealt with. And that's, again, March between 9th and 27th, but especially March 17th and 22nd. Then in July, pretty much the entire month of July, but especially 11th and 12th, and then end of October to end of November, but especially November 9th and 13th. And that will have to do again with healthcare, oil, chemicals, secrets, pollution, but also music, movies, etc., religion. However, after this kind of a intense period where China may be again dealing with coronavirus, but also dealing with perhaps how to improve things in maybe some sort of healthcare reform or medical reforms, or how to basically help to isolate things, or dealing with the effects of isolation, the quarantine. After that, we will have sort of period that will last, I would say from beginning of the 2021 into almost the entire 2021, where we will have Saturn going, transiting from the 12th house of the China's chart into the first, and it will first go over its ascendant, but then also go over its moon that's in the first house. So that will have to do with, again, either transforming sort of its identity to become a little bit more austere, more disciplined, and or more sort of controlling, and the government may have a little bit more power, more say, because again, it may need to step in to kind of control things, because it just will be necessary to, I guess, just put some restrictions in place to control the situation. And in particular, when we will have, I guess it will be more towards 2021, and then 2021, where Saturn will go over China's moon, and moon there rules 6th house of, again, healthcare, governmental services, but also veterinary areas, or well-being of animals. So There may be still basically changes into 2021, which may not necessarily have to do with coronavirus per se, but some more kind of restrictive or changing attitude where there may be some stricter controls, perhaps over how animals are treated, for example, or how healthcare is administered. And again, some sort of also Saturn will have to do potentially with things that like losses, of course, and or restrictions, but also scaling down. And so we definitely can expect more lingering effects into the next year. So those are the background influences. And for this week, as I already mentioned, I predicted for Monday, this whole week I don't really see very strong influences. Again, that's more what I'm seeing in the chart. Obviously, there was a strong down drop on Monday, but I made actually a prediction of market going up, about 55% chance, because to me the aspects didn't look so bad, at least not in terms of affecting finance. However, we do have, I guess, a strong influence that might indicate events that have to do with individuals that either are governmental leaders, prominent people, and or like risk takers, or athletes who are like fighters, maybe somebody who's like a high ski jumper, or somebody who races, somebody who's like macho, and again a daredevil, which we did already have this news about Mike Hughes, apparently, who was a daredevil who died by propelling himself in a self-made rocket. But we may hear more about similar situations through about the February 26th, and again, that may be an accident involving a government official or some prominent person like that, and or increased probability of like news that involve fires, explosions, accidents, especially in mountains, tunnels, tall buildings, bridges, landslides. So something like there's a fast object is moving, but then it is stopped because it can't move because it's too high, or it meets the a wall or something. Or many fast objects kind of move in the same direction, then collide and again come to a stop. So something that's like trying to move but it can't. Or something that's like been standing there for a long time but now it explodes. So again, the leaders who are kind of more macho, masculine, daredevil-like, or involved in these kind of aggressive or risky sports are more likely to, have something happen to them or announce something that's publicly kind of gives them some public prominence. So for US, period from February 24th through March 11th, especially February 28th, is significant, where there may be increased focus on financial trade, immigration, long-distance transportation, travel, laws, lawyers, judges, and higher education, so maybe colleges, professors, students, etc., international students. We may hear about either some decisive, aggressive, or risky moves, or something that happens really fast, or perhaps is upsetting in some way, or divides opinions. So perhaps there's some rules implemented to more strictly regulate areas related to one of the above, maybe, who can immigrate, or where people can or cannot travel, or, some new law may be passed again to regulate one of these areas. And these decisions at this time, or agreements, maybe international agreements, may be seen as imbalance, where benefiting one side but not the other, or over the top, like stretching too far, over-promising, or involving too many sort of obligations that are not realistic. And there may also be news about some prominent lawyers, judges, or professors suffering an accident, or perhaps a prominent person being sued, and perhaps because they were involved in like high-speed collision, they beat up somebody, or illegal immigration, or higher education. Again, like that's similar to that scandal where they're cheating, or paying for somebody to send their kids to school. I did see today, I guess there was some announcement on the 24th today, February 24th, there was an announcement about Weinstein being indicted, or not indicted, whatever the term is, where I guess he was sentenced or something like that. And I guess that would be one manifestation of that, some prominent person going through some prominent case, and it would have to do with something that again has a smartest flavor, which again, a fight, accident, or doing something illegal, or doing something, or maybe the case goes through too fast and there's some sort of a basically concern about that, or the results of it are upsetting. So for Tuesday, I also have a prediction that the market will go up. Again, only 55% chance, because I don't really see a strong sort of a pro and con, or rather there's a mixed influence. But I think, let's be optimistic. I think it's going to be up. Regardless of the direction, 25th and 26th look like very busy days with a lot of news. And particularly, we may hear more news about like retail sales, communication, transportation businesses, media, cars, agreements, communication, negotiations of various sorts. And negotiations may be proceeding really fast. And agreements may be reached in particular in the areas related to oil, gas, chemicals, healthcare, drugs, Navy, beverages, movies, and religious. So those are the areas where agreements can move faster than usual and or can be reached easier than usual. Then on Wednesday, Thursday, I think the market will go down. And on Friday, I think the market will go up. So for China, February 26th through 27 may see some upsetting news about finance, earnings, debt, loans, rates. And there may be some upsetting news, perhaps either about companies in those domains and or individuals, maybe like a bank CEO or something like that, that have to do with, or some sort of minister, financial minister. So there may be some upsetting news, perhaps the earnings are down, or there are some concerns about loan or debt or taxes. And then for global influence, 27th through 28th of February, may see also increased focus on similar topics such as finance, debt, rates, loans, earnings, taxes, insurance, which, I'm guessing it will be about concerns about profits going down due to the coronavirus. But there may also be surprising and or aggressive moves by the governments, so some sort of financial intervention, and that's again February 27th through 28th, and or there may be an announcement about some new financial project that is trying to challenge the status quo. And so if there is this independent financial project or initiative, it may emphasize quick money transfers, quick or more efficient, tax and debt collection, and or somehow try to enable its users to escape or bypass governmental regulation, oversight, or somehow seek independence from the established financial institutions. So there may be both independent, announcements by the financial institutions, some sort of a government financial intervention, and totally independent third-party project that again seeks somehow to provide this quick way of, money transfers that somehow is bypassing the typical, established ways of, payments or sending money. Let's see. And so one new glance ahead update that I had added to my blog at tostunka.com, which is where all of these predictions were posted yesterday, is for March 8th and 9th, which would be next Sunday and Monday. Those look like, actually, even though I didn't pick up that Monday, the 24th will be a significant drop, but I did see, and I still see, then the next Monday, the 9th, will be potentially a strong kind of a down day and or day where we'll have increased news about things like oil, pharmaceuticals, healthcare, beverage, religion, all these Neptunian oils, gas, drug addictions, pollution, and of course also wet weather, flooding, or spread of diseases that are transmitted through fluids. At the same time, there may also be some surprising news related to finance, banking industry, and Forex, especially Euro USD value. Of course, those could be related. Again, there could be a market drop or at least some kind of more volatility in the markets. At the same time, again, there may be some financial announcements. And again, these may or may not relate to developments of the prior week, where again, I think there might be some interventions by the governments or some independent third-party projects coming up at the end of this week. Let's see. And so this time, March 8th and 9th, also corresponds with increasing influence of difficult aspects in China's chart. So I'm guessing those might be related. So perhaps there'll be developments related to this coronavirus and and or, you know, obviously perhaps concerns about oil prices, and or at the same time there may be some, you know, bout of some wet weather or flooding, etc. happening, and all of those may kind of literally put a damper on the markets. Let's see. And I think that we will wrap this up. I was talking long enough. So, hope this was interesting, informative, and I guess hope you enjoyed this and come back next week. And until then, catch you guys later. Have a great one.